Are we good? Okay. All right. I would like to welcome everyone and those watching via live stream and call the March 18th, 2025 meeting of the San Diego Unified School District Board of Education to order with all board members present. I would also like to note that our interim superintendent, Dr. Fabiola Bagula, is participating remotely in this meeting as she is participating in a fellowship program at Yale University this week. So welcome to your virtual self.
I would like to call the San Diego Community College District Board of Trustees to order.
There you go.
With all members present, I would also like to thank the San Diego Unified School District for their partnership and for hosting this year's joint meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, President Arroyo. If anyone would like to provide public comment on agenda items, iPads are available in the back of the room. Because this is a special meeting, we will not be hearing public comment on non-agenda items. All right, first up, A2, land acknowledgement is a traditional custom that dates back centuries in many Native nations and communities. I would like to ask Heidi Zuniga, Community College District Student Trustee, to provide the land acknowledgement in respect for the Kumeyaay people who are the original stewards of the land our school districts now occupy.
I'm sorry, okay. Thank you. The San Diego Community College District and its 4 colleges acknowledge the land we occupy is in ceding territory and ancestral homeland of the Kumeyaay people, where they have lived for over 10,000 years. We honor and value the stewardship, knowledge, and cultural worldview of the Kumeyaay people and their commitment to protection and preservation of the land and their culture. As institution of higher education, we are responsible for providing an Indigenous community members with access, belonging, and success in their educational pursuit in an environment which celebrates the culture. We are responsible for educating all community members about Indigenous history and culture. We are responsible for examining and taking action to address the injustice of colonization and occupation which have perpetuated arms against Indigenous, Black, Brown, and other communities. Through this acknowledgement, we honor the Kumeyaay people and express our commitment to truth and respect as a foundation of our relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Zuniga. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. All right. Is there a motion by the San Diego Unified School Board to adopt today's agenda as published? Trustee Hazen with the motion. Do we have a second? Trustee Bazo with a second. All right. Please vote. We don't have buttons, so I think we'll just raise our hand. I see unanimous consent with student trustees concurring. All right. I would like to invite Anna Diaz-Booz, Kearney High School principal, to say a few words of introduction. Is Principal Diaz-Booz here? Oh, welcome. Yeah, sorry, it's a bit of a hike. Welcome.
Good afternoon, good evening, board members of San Diego Unified and the San Diego Community College District, Superintendent Bagula, Chancellor Smith, and members of our community. It is an honor to welcome you to Kearney High School, a place where innovation, collaboration, and student success are at the heart of everything we do. As a school deeply committed to preparing our students for college careers and beyond, we value the strong partnerships that help make that vision a reality. Your leadership and support play a crucial role in shaping opportunities for our students through dual enrollment programs, career pathways, or the countless initiatives that bridge the gap between K-12 and higher education. Together, we are not just educating students, we are empowering future leaders. This late afternoon, I want to give special recognition to Dr. Shanti Hans, President of Mesa College, and her incredible team. Mesa's unwavering support and commitment to our Kearney students through dual enrollment and college access programs have been transformational. Thanks to our 20-year partnership with Mesa College, Kearney students have the opportunity to earn college credits and have access to incredible opportunities while still in high school, setting them on a path to success. Dr. Hans, we truly appreciate your leadership and the dedication of your team in making higher education more accessible and achievable for our students. To all, thank you for your commitment to our students and for joining us this evening. We look forward to continuing our work together to create brighter and more meaningful futures for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Principal Diaz-Buz. And a special thank you to Kearney High School staff and students for hosting our event this evening. I would like to ask our interim superintendent, of public education, Dr. Fabiola Bagula, to share some opening remarks. Dr. Bagula?
Thank you, President Pedersen, and thank you, Principal Ana Diaz-Buz, for that warm welcome. We're all really proud of the work that you've been leading here at Kearney. Good evening, trustees and colleagues. It is a privilege to join you from this joint board meeting, even as I participate in an educational leadership fellowship at Yale. I apologize, I'm there in spirit. This partnership is so critical to preparing our students to be college and career ready that it was important for me to be here and also invite my interim deputy superintendent to be a part of this conversation tonight. I want to take a moment to extend a heartfelt welcome and congratulations to the newest trustees of the San Diego Community College District, Trustees Jameson and Magaña. Your leadership comes at a pivotal time, and we look forward to the impact you will make. Last year, we initiated a conversation about shifting towards SMART goals, an intentional step toward defining the work we do collectively with greater clarity and accountability. Today, we will hear from our team on the progress that we've made in that direction. But before we do, I encourage each of us to approach this discussion with a learning mindset, one that only reflects on our progress but also informs the next phase of alignment and implementation. At San Diego Unified, adopting a SMART goals framework has been more than an exercise in goal setting. It has transformed the way that we work. It has cultivated a culture of intentionality and impact, pushing us to rethink and refine our approach on serving students. Our San Diego Unified trustees can speak more about this journey, but I share this to underscore that meaningful change happens through ongoing reflection, adaptation, and collaboration. One key learning we've encountered in this is the importance of timing. You will notice that today's agenda does not include a progress report on our SMART goals. This is because the necessary data is not released until late July. If we continue on our current schedule, it would take a full year from today before we could fully assess our current year progress. Given this, I encourage us to consider a fall meeting dedicated to reviewing our progress in real time. By doing so, we can ensure that as governing boards, we're staying accountable and making timely, data-informed decisions that drive meaningful outcomes. Lastly, I want to acknowledge the broader challenges we face, the uncertainty at the federal level, including the recent significant staffing reductions at the U.S. Department of Education, reminding us of the importance of our local leadership and upholding our values. At San Diego Unified, our commitment remains unwavering. We are a district that is welcoming and inclusive for all students, no matter how they identify. We will continue to create these conditions for every student to belong, thrive, and achieve to their fullest potential. Thank you for allowing me to set the stage for today's meeting. The work we do together is critical, and I deeply appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with your chancellor as we continue paving the way for our students and our communities. Thank you. Thank you, President Pedersen.
Thank you, Dr. Bagula. I'd now like to ask Gregory Smith, Chancellor of San Diego Community College District, to share some opening remarks as well.
To the Board of San Diego Unified for inviting us to be here, to President Diaz-Buz, everybody at Kearney High School who's been involved in making this space available to us, and appreciate the opportunity to come together and think about how we can collectively work to uplift our communities. Right now, picking up where Dr. Bagula left off, there are so many voices, so many forces that would have us look at what makes us different and use that as a source of division, have us turn inward towards our in-groups at the expense of connecting across to others. And in our district, we recently updated our mission statement to say that we exist to uplift our diverse communities through culturally responsive teaching, learning, and work environments. And in that, we pursue creating space where individuals can be, they can belong, and then they can become. And as we think about what it takes to show up and be, is where I think a lot of that division starts to come in, that you are somehow different than me, and that means that we are in competition with each other, or it's reasons that we can't connect. But the reality is that we all have so many multiple identities, and if we think about the ways that we share identities, the common goals and objectives and ideals that we pursue, there are so many reasons that we can be in community in a way that creates belonging instead of division. And so I appreciate us coming together, because in some ways you might look at a K-12 district and community college district and say you're different, you serve different people, you do different things, but the reality is so much of what we do is interconnected. And we're working together to create pathways for members of our community to transition from high school into college, and in our mission to be the most accessible, affordable pathway to higher education possible. Everything that we can do working together to facilitate that pathway uplifts our communities. And in the past, we've often made students figure that out themselves. And I say that as a former community college student who, with no real assistance, kind of figured that pathway out. We know that doesn't work for so many. And so I appreciate the SMART goals we've established, the emphasis on expanding dual enrollment, the particular focus on the equity of those programs, and ensuring that every member of our community benefits. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you tonight. I appreciate our board for prioritizing these engagements, and look forward to the work we'll do into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Smith. We will now receive public testimony on agenda items. Ms. Stoltz, have we received any requests for public comment? There she is. Thank you. Okay. Moving on, we will now hear this year's status report on joint goals. Dr. Roberson and Dr. Topham, please provide the joint report.
Yes, there was a request to move up the podium, so give me a second.
Thank you for that. Good evening, everyone. It's truly a pleasure to be here once again. Every year we look forward to coming together, both of our institutions, to reflect on the work that has happened in the past year, but also to help us with the planning of next year and the future years. Last year, we had a very robust conversation around setting SMART goals, and that work, as a reminder, has driven the work that has occurred in this past year, the data that's been collected, and the stories that you will be hearing today. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my colleague forward, but we will be, in the agenda, you will note that we will have 3 separate sections, one to share the stories of our students, and the second to speak and review data, and then also the third is to really highlight the work that happened based on the conversations that were had at last year's board meetings. So we're very excited to share that information, but also to hear the discussions that will happen throughout the presentation. As a reminder, there will be a 15-minute interval between each of these sections to provide trustees the opportunity to ask questions and to have further dialogue on the goals that were set last year. And we look forward to the feedback, we look forward to the information, and I will turn it over to Dr. Robertson, who will go over the goals that were agreed upon last year and for the next, well, it was for this year and then for the next 2 years. So thank you very much.
Could just give me one moment. I feel really unsafe right now with the positioning. If I were to take a step back, I might fall. So. Awesome. Good evening. As Dr. Topham mentioned, my name is Jen Roberson. I'm the Senior Director in the Office of Graduation. I work closely, our office works closely with our partners in the San Diego Community College District, and we're really excited to present to you and remind you of the SMART goals that were created as our boards met last year, and this is the work that has been ongoing within our 2 partnerships throughout the year. So The first endeavor that I want to remind us on is that San Diego Unified participated in student outcome-focused governance. We call it SOFG goals, always with student outcomes in mind. And we talk a lot about adult behavior and the obstacles and barriers that we put in place as a system that prevent our students from accelerating and having the opportunities that should be afforded to them, which is much of what we're here to discuss tonight. So the goals that you see here are 3-year SMART goals that we created and were board adopted last year. That was a stretch for us, I'm going to say, because while we've had goals, we haven't necessarily set forth 3-year SMART goals. And so our team is actively working to implement these goals, to work alongside our principals and our high school colleagues, counselors, registrars, students, families, to ensure that, one, not only our students know about these goals and our families know about these goals, but we're actualizing them on our school campus. And so goal number 1, you may have heard us share this at San Diego Unified, may have heard us share these goals at our board meetings, but for our San Diego Community College District, one of our primary goals is that our students will graduate leaving San Diego Unified High Schools, college and career prepared, as marked by the California College and Career Indicator. So we've done a lot of work with our high school colleagues to ensure that we have an understanding of what are those indicators and how we are meeting success. San Diego Unified has adopted 3 levers that we focus on. And that is all of our work with our data collabs and ensuring our schools are meeting the mark. We focus on A through G completion, CCTE pathway completion, that could include also certifications, and then we call it early college credit because we focus on not only dual enrollment college courses, but AB, IB passage rates, and then also, drawing a blank. Nope, that was the third, AB, IB, thank you. I had to talk myself through that. And so what you're gonna see here is we have outputs that get us to meet that goal. And so you'll notice that we had the baseline of 59.9 in the spring of 2003, and we want to increase that yearly to 67.9 by spring of 2027. What you notice underneath that goal are the outputs that we work on daily with our schools, with our counselors, and ensuring that we are meeting the mark. The first one, output 1A, signifies that we're going to increase the graduating number of students that complete at least 2 or more college courses with a C or higher. And we want to increase that number annually as we go forward. Output 1B describes the participation rate of our Latinx students, and we want to increase that yearly as we go through it. And you're going to hear from our colleague Stephen Bass from the Community College District, and he'll share with regards to our progress status at each of these marks. For output 1C, what you're going to hear from us are the participation rates and our goal to increase our African American student population, taking at least 1 or more college class with a C or higher. And then finally, output 1D talks about the mechanism to safely identify and support graduating LGBTQ plus students from the San Diego Unified School District, facilitating their transition to the San Diego Community College District by connecting them with the student support services. You're going to hear a lot about our efforts and initiatives and our partnership of how we've worked through each of these. One thing that, before I progress through the slide, that our colleague Stephen Bass is not going to highlight in the slides is around output 1A. And so I want to share with our colleagues, this is an internal mechanism for San Diego Unified of how we monitor and how we're faring with regards to that data set. You're not going to see this on the slide, but I'll let you know how we're faring. So you notice that in the spring of 2023, we had 36.7 of our high school graduates taking at least 2 or more college classes, earning a C. In the spring of 2024, I'm happy to announce that we had 45.6% of our graduating class earning a C or more. As you will notice, we've already surpassed that baseline data and that goal setting for 2027. This is an important mark, and it could be a discussion point for you all with regards to this SMART goal and potentially taking a look at our efforts and increasing that goal, if you will. So I wanted to share that before we progress to goal number 2. Goal number 2 that you'll see there is San Diego Community College District and the San Diego Unified will increase the number of graduates entering San Diego Community College, first-time entrants, from 21%. That average mark was, or the baseline data was 1,434 students in the class of 2023 to 29% by class of 2027, if you will. And we have outputs where we're monitoring each of those things. So the percentage of San Diego Unified graduates who enroll in a community college district who receive the San Diego Promise Scholarship will increase from 58% in the fall to 68% in fall 2027. Output 1B shares that San Diego Unified will increase the number of graduates who have submitted an application to the San Diego Promise program from 28% in fall of 2023 to 36% by fall of 2027. So these SMART goals, we meet very frequently with our San Diego Community College partners, where we meet with counselors, we meet with, we call CCAP liaisons. There are dual enrollment liaisons at each of our high schools, where we engage in promising practices at each of our high schools. And we talk about the barriers and the obstacles that exist at each of our high schools that then limit the amount of courses that our student could take. Perhaps it's a master schedule issue that we need to talk through and learn about. And so we're engaging in those conversations now. And then we really want to ensure that our families know and recognize that we have a viable option for our students with the San Diego Community College District, that they know and are informed about the San Diego Promise and the scholarships that are afforded to our students and the pathways that exist at our partners. And so that is much of what you're going to hear from us this evening. And with that, we wanted to first start off by highlighting our student experiences. And we wanted to frame our conversation around the experiences of our students, because who better than to hear from than our students who have participated in each of our efforts as a joint partnership. So I would like to introduce, hold on, I have it phonemic awareness on my paper. Zara Muniam from East Village Middle College High School. And Zara, you can either come up here or use that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zara Monaim, and I'm a dual enrollment student at East Village Middle College High School. I'm here today to share my experience and highlight how this program has helped me. Dual enrollment has been one of the best decisions I've made for my education. The transition into college-level coursework was made seamless thanks to the CCAP classes I took as a freshman. Those classes gave me a head start, easing me into the expectations of college while still having the support of my high school teachers. Another thing that has made this experience so rewarding is the strong sense of community, both at my high school and here at City College. The administration, teachers, and counselors truly work together to support students. There's constant communication between my high school counselor and my college counselor to ensure my schedule aligns with my long-term goals. There aren't many high schools where a principal knows every student's schedule, but Mr. Booz makes sure to check in to make sure that every student has what they need to succeed. What makes dual enrollment so special is that every student's schedule is unique. Whether a student is looking to explore different career paths, earn college credit early, or simply challenge themselves academically, the program adapts to fit their goals. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's a what size do you need approach. Unfortunately, not many students know about this opportunity. The most common comment I receive when I tell people about my school, besides that the name is too long, is, "I wish I had that in high school." As a junior, I'm currently taking Calculus 2 and hope to obtain my associate's degree in math before I graduate, something that would have never been possible without this remarkable program. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunities this program has given me, and I hope more students take advantage of it. Thank you to everyone who helps make this possible, from the counselors who plan our schedules to the teachers and professors who guide us along the way. And thank you so much for the opportunity to speak here tonight.
Now I'd like to introduce to you Araya Palms from Kearney Digital Media and Design Multimedia.
Good evening. My name is Araya Palms, and I am a senior at Kearney School of Digital Media and Design. I am here today to share my story with dual enrollment at Mesa College, and specifically in the visual communication certification that I earned. Dual enrollment changed my path and gave me a head start on my future. As a high school student, I enjoy creating media for my clients and also using those skills in my personal life. In my junior year, I collaborated with the San Diego Public Library and interviewed clients from the San Diego Public Library to produce a podcast, as well as print media such as promotional posters and logos for that podcast. I have also used these skills for my personal use to promote myself as an upcoming lifestyle and soon-to-be HBCU college student content creator. Through my school's dual enrollment program with Mesa College, I used the skills I have already developed for college-level multimedia classes. This allowed me to take what I have learned at DMD even further and produce more professional products. Taking college-level courses that challenged me and sharpened my skills gave me real-world experiences in media production, graphic design, and communication. I learned programs such as Adobe Photoshop, Premiere Pro, and Illustrator. I can now use these programs in future for graphic design, video editing, and content creation to enhance my branding, marketing, and storytelling in various industries, including healthcare and digital media. By the time I graduate from Kearney, I will not have only earned my high school diploma, but also a certificate in visual communications from Mesa College, and will be able to participate in the upcoming commencement ceremony at Mesa College on May 30th. This program didn't just give me college credit, it gave me the confidence and connections I need for a competitive edge in my career. But, sorry. I plan to pursue a bachelor's in health administration by the time when I graduate from high school. Healthcare shouldn't be off limits to someone just because they don't have the funds in their pocket. I plan to collaborate with healthcare professionals to create community-based project initiatives, ensuring underserved communities have the support they need. My certificate in visual communications will advise me on how to market my content and appeal to my audience and guide healthcare patients in the right direction to make sure they have the next steps in life. Dual enrollment is an incredible opportunity, and I encourage every student to take advantage of it. Success isn't something you wait for, it's something you work for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and now I'd like to introduce Marley Nichols, Kearney Biomedical Science Technology, and Marley is here to present about the CNA program.
Hello, good evening. My name is Marley Nichols. I am a former Kearney student, BST, class of 2023. I would like to talk about my experience with continuing education during the CNA program. I first actually went to the EMT program at Miramar, but I realized that wasn't for me, as I want to be a nurse in the future. So once I heard about the CNA experience from Ms. Fee, I was excited because it was a step into the nursing field. It was the start of summer, and it was very, very last minute, literally the last seat left, but continuing education, they chose to have me be a part of their class, and I'm forever grateful. I accepted the offer, of course, hence why I'm in scrubs. When I found out I had one more seat left, I was just astonished that they chose me to be a part of that class. When I first went there, I was very excited. The teachers and everyone were very great. They were phenomenal in what they were teaching, and they really gave us good lessons, good life lessons, and good education in leading into the nursing field. You can tell that they really care about their job. And they were once CNAs also that became nurses, and I feel like that really helped become a teacher. But we also did a lot of good things in CNA school. We connected well with everyone that we worked with, and we also did a lot of clinical experience, hands-on learning, and as well, that helped a lot. I've been a CNA for almost 2 years now. It was during Kearney when I started. I was a senior in high school. So since then, 2 years, and I'm now a certified nurse's assistant. And I do also have a certification in medication administration. That was an offer I was given at my job because of the CNA program. And now that I'm a CNA, I'm in school currently going to nursing, and I'm excited to finish my path and find who I always was. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Leslie Aguilar Rodriguez. We have 2 students from Mira Mesa who are going to share their journey and their path at their school.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I want to start off by thanking the board for giving us the opportunity to talk about our experiences in dual enrollment in San Diego Unified and in San Diego Community Colleges. My name is Leslie Aguilar Rodriguez. I'm in 11th grade, and I am currently in the Sports Med program at Mira Mesa High School. It's the first CCTE class in the patient care pathway. After getting an email, I jumped at the opportunity to be in that class, and ever since I have not regretted it. I absolutely love the atmosphere of the class. It's very welcoming and open to every student who wants to join. The class is very hands-on and interactive, which for me personally has allowed me to learn so much more than I ever thought I could. I also got the opportunity to work with our athletic trainer, Nicole Briscoe, in an internship where I get to learn valuable skills working with so many different kinds of people and so many different kinds of sports. And I get to see the knowledge I learn in class in action. I've always wanted a career in physical therapy. Working with my little brother and seeing how much care the physical therapist put into him made me have so much passion for it, and I want to continue that goal. And that class has really just helped me want to further that goal. Enough so to enroll in the CCAP class next year. And my fellow classmates have also talked about it so wonderfully that it just seems like the best choice for me.
And now I'd like to introduce Naomi Magnum. Her name is not reflected on the screen, but I would like her to come up and share.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Naomi Mangum, and I'm excited to share how my college classes have helped shape my future career. Right now, I am currently enrolled in the exercise 241A and 242B classes at Miramar, and these have truly reinforced my passion for physical therapy. These courses have given me hands-on experience and deeper understanding of human movement, rehabilitation, and injury prevention. When I first signed up, I was interested in physical therapy, but I wasn't exactly sure what direction I wanted to take. However, through these classes, I discovered my passion for working with children and realized I wanted to specialize in pediatric physical therapy. Learning about motor development, therapy techniques, and patient care confirmed that this is the right field for me. I am excited to continue this journey as I have been accepted to Arizona State University and San Diego State University for kinesiology pre-physical therapy. No matter which school I choose, I know that this will be the building on the foundation from these classes that have given me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and another round of applause for our students. So now we would like to open it up to questions or discussions that the trustees might have or comments.
All right, any comments or questions? So it looks like we're going to do 3 15-minute discussions. Okay.
Yes.
Bearing in mind, keep your comments and questions proportionate to the amount of time we have here. And we'll have 2 additional opportunities to speak as well. Do we have any comments or questions at this point? Trustee Magana.
How many different programs do we have?
I'm sorry?
How many different programs do we have?
A lot, no. Off the top of my head, I don't know. We'll look that up and get the, and
Okay.
provide you the information.
Do we have an order of magnitude? Is it More than 100 or more than 50?
Less
or
than 100.
Less than 100?
Less than 100, but each of the colleges, it varies, and the feeder schools. So what we try to do is align the pathways that each of the high schools have with programs. So I would say probably about 20 or so, 20, 25 amongst all of our programs. But those are continuously increasing. And as we analyze the course offerings and work closely with the high schools and with the principals and with the colleges, that is a discussion that happens beginning in December through March, so that we can do the planning and be able to submit those. But we have been seeing an increase in those programs, such as the CNA, the LVN, and then others such as EMT and other programs, especially in the graphics.
One of the strategic efforts that we're working on alongside our high schools and our school counselors is to align our pathways. So we're working closely with our schools to say, you know, we can't offer all of the CCTE pathways. What is it that our community is saying that they want and need for our students? Maybe we're offering healthcare when the community is saying that they want engineering, and we're having those conversations now, and then engaging with our partners at the San Diego Community College District to say, okay, now that we've solidified our CCTE pathways, what programs then align to the programs that you offer at each of the colleges, and then we're making those alignments happen now. So I would agree with Susan that it's approximately 20 to 25, and we're in the process of continuing that alignment as we continue to work with our high schools.
But just to clarify, those programs may be on multiple campuses, so you could have a campus with several pathways. So in aggregate, there's probably, because there's multiple per campus, there may be 60 different programs, but you're saying in terms of the pathways themselves, there's only about 20 to 25 or something.
Yes,
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
I think what's also important to clarify is that that's not a reflection of the courses that we are offering, right? And so some of the discussion that we had last year was how do we become more intentional with the course offerings? And so when you look at the very different coursework that we're offering at the high school, I'm going to use communications as an example, right? Communications fulfills an associate's degree and a transfer pathway. So we need to look, there's a distinction there between the career pathways that we're offering, but also the fulfillment to transfer into a four-year institution.
Trustee Whitehurst-Payne?
It would also seem to me that the larger market is driving some of it too, because UCSD has expanded in the number of patients. For example, they run their MRI machines all night, 7/24, when it used to be just 8 to 5. So now that's going to they will need more people working. And I know Point Loma, I think we went over to Point Loma College where they're now offering some kind of programs for medical. So it's the larger community that's helping to drive where the needs are. And so students, as well as what we're trying to offer, students know they can get jobs in those fields and are wanting to go in those fields.
Maybe a little more specific, I think understanding the pathways, you have the CTE, CCT pathways, you have the transfer pathways, and then you also have programs that students are able to attain their certificates and their associate's degrees as they're in our program. So they're not only taking courses with CCAP, but they're also then coming in the summer and taking courses that way. So there are various pathways. So being specific, it's a little hard.
I trust.
The audience. So we phoned a friend. We have 162 CTE pathways at San Diego Unified, and approximately 30 align to our programs at the Community College District.
Thank you for the clarification. I have a stack with Trustee Bazo and then Vice President Milgram.
Thank you, President Pedersen. I wanted to pull out the sports medicine program, as that's a relatively new program, but I can speak specifically to the program at Mira Mesa. I know it's been expanded to other schools, but my husband, who is a sports medicine physician, started working on programs such as this at Mira Mesa and helping other schools. And just not only the fact that they're learning these skills, but a lot of the students on these campuses that maybe don't have regular health care, they're really uncovering, things like heart murmurs, other, because they're doing physicals on these students. And so the fact that it's not only learning, I guess, on the athletic trainer student side, but really something like, healthcare is such an important need, and we assume that all of our young students are healthy, but they're uncovering things, and it's so valuable to have students be involved in that and be able to share in that and learn from them. And I know we're not supposed to use the word equity anymore, but it's really about equity, because we're really supporting all of our students with this program, particularly those that maybe don't have regular health care, and those that may have had an injury and no one else was going to help. They didn't have health insurance or something to go be seen, but so it's really important on both ends with that program, and I've just seen it evolve, and it's really incredible. So very excited about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bozzo. Vice President Milgram?
Equity, 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 equity. Equity, okay. Are all the high schools in Unified have these dual enrollment and other programs?
Yes, all of our high schools.
One of the student speakers talked about she wished that more students knew about this. Is there an issue with access and capacity, meaning we don't have the capacity to have more students, or they're not learning about it, or?
So thank you for that question. That was actually one of the goals from last year, that we needed to expand the communication and awareness across Unified and actually across our region, right? So it's not only through being at the high schools, but also being out with the community and sharing the information. So later we will highlight some of the improvements and movement that we've made with the college campus presentations that will highlight that piece of it exactly. Dean Machaka is going to talk about just recently we had a huge counselor conference at Mesa College, the first, and I try not to steal your thunder here, but it was very successful, right? It was for the first time we were able to bring the counselors together and present data on their own high schools and look at how the work that was happening is being impacted. So there's a lot of progress that's been made, and like I said, I don't want to steal folks' thunder here, but communication is always and will always be one of our top priorities, and expanding. So expanding to different languages, expanding it to parents, expanding it to other spaces that we weren't at previously. So the collaboration there has been very intentional this year.
And then I would add, Dr. Richardson and I facilitated Learning Today with our high school principals, counselors, and registrars. And we really asked them to hold up the mirror with regards to the obstacles and barriers that they put in place at each of their school sites. I'll give an example of one school. They highlighted that they set the mechanism and the expectation that students would take AVID 9th grade, AVID 10th grade, AVID 11th grade before they were ever given the opportunity to take a college course. And so hard conversations need to happen, courageous conversations need to happen with sites, and our high schools need to be reflective of the obstacles and barriers we put in place with regards to not allowing our students or not even believing our students can be successful in certain courses. So we've engaged in that conversation. This is now session number 3 with our leaders and our counselors, and we're going to continue to do just that. So thank you for asking that question.
Just a quick follow-up. Do you think how much self-selection do you are where students who would already be college-bound or interested in college are taking advantage of this versus students may not think of themselves as, or getting the message that they're not college material?
Yes, so that is work that we need to do at San Diego Unified alongside our counselors. At some of our high schools, we do a great job of having those conversations where students then get to tell us what their journey is, what they're passionate about, what they're interested in, and then we work through we would like all of our students to have 6-year planning Some of our high schools do a great job at four-year planning and then planning that out with their families. But that is not happening across the board at all of our high schools, and that has been our work with our high schools over this past year, a year and a half actually. And so we're not yet there, and we're working towards that because we do believe that it's important for our families to do 6-year planning, to know the 6-year plan of like their educational journey and where they're heading. And then it's our responsibility as a collective to support the student to get where they need to be.
Thank you. President Arroyo.
Thank you, President Pedersen. Thank you. Vice President Milgram, I believe that the student that said that they wished the most students knew about that option, I think it was a student from East Village Middle College High School. And so, but I'm glad that you brought it up because I think it's middle school students, middle school families, right? That, no, not that good. I mean, I have a freshman in high school at San Diego Unified. And so when her friends got to 8th grade, you know, which high school are you going to go to? Some of them learned about East Village. But I think my point is more families in middle school should know that those I always get it all wrong, middle college high schools exist. Because they provide another high school setting for students, right? The traditional high school is not for everybody. So on that point, and I know that we don't have a lot of time, what I would like to be reminded is how many middle college high schools do we have in our system?
We have one, so we have East Village, and then the Met is another atypical, but it's a big picture school. And so while they both sit on college campuses, they have different foci, if you will. One of the things that the student lifted up that we've heard from year to year is the benefits of East Village is our students graduate with an associate's degree. We would like to replicate that across the board at all of our high schools. We're not yet there, and that is a missed opportunity for us that we really want to work towards.
But I think that if families know from, you know, when they have their students, their children in middle school, that that's an option, and that middle college high school sits already in a community college, you know, that they will be more inspired and more likely to send their kids there because they want them to go to college.
So to that point, that's the expansion that we were talking, that I was mentioning when I responded to Trustee Milgram's, is the expansion, right? Being out in the community and not just relying on being at the school sites, but really being out there. And we have engaged in quite a few more, not all, middle schools. And so really reaching, and in some cases, we've even started talking about elementary school. So that we're actually nurturing that college-going culture from early and not waiting until they get to 9th or 10th grade.
Thank you, President. Trustee Baldus and then Trustee Hazen.
Thank you. And I just want to start by saying thank you very much for the initial presentation. Now, going to communication from the actual classes to our students, I feel like something that we could implement is a partnership, or we could form some sort of framework where San Diego Unified High School teachers would be encouraged to teach community college courses. I know if I took a history class and my teacher was encouraging me and saying, oh, in addition to this history class, I also teach political science at the community college, you all should enroll. I know that this would be a great motivator and it'd increase our teacher and staff relationships, and I feel like it'd be a great way to improve our goal number 1. And I just want to open up to all trustees and see if we'd be interested in something in this vein.
Our 15 minutes is up, but I do see Hazen on the stack. She can maybe additionally respond to your question.
Thank you. And I think, you know, why it's really helpful to have this data is to the point, right, we heard anecdotally that maybe students aren't aware, or at least aware of middle college, but what you shared in terms of the number of graduating students that complete at least 2 or more community college courses, it looks like that percent has gone up significantly, right? So when we look at the data from one year to the next, we're looking at, almost a 10% increase, which says to me, kids know about these things. We know they know because they're participating in these courses in significantly higher numbers. And I think going back to what we heard when Superintendent Bagula opened around the importance of data, I think it's challenging a little bit not to have all of this data available because of the timing, which she referenced of this meeting. And so I do want to echo her suggestion that we do come back together again in the fall so that we can see for overarching goal 1 and for each of the individual outputs how we're doing and really have an opportunity to reflect not only on anecdotes and stories, but really on data and really understand what's moving the needle or what's not. And I'm also curious, it was great to hear that we went from 36% to 45% for that output 1A. And I'm curious if staff think we should, maybe think about increasing that 3-year goal since we're essentially there with 3 more years to go.
So after this piece, we'll bring our researcher up, and he can present the data and information, additional information that may be available, and we can have that conversation so that everybody's on the same page when we're talking about data and what that means in relation to the work that has happened in this past year.
Great. And can you, I guess I'm curious if either of you can speak to, that increase and that significant increase I think we should be celebrating around the graduating students that completed those courses. Or is that what you're saying he's going to be?
Well, what we can say is, and that's part of the last piece of it, the goals, and where we're highlighting some of the work that we've done over the past year and the intention, we're trying to be even more intentional around the goals, right? So using, as you're mentioning, using the data to really drive the work that we're doing and ensuring that, given the resources that both institutions, both organizations currently have, how can we be more intentional about targeting the population and ensuring that they are aware of the opportunities, but also being able to provide the support as those courses are being delivered, right? Because I think one of the things that we often struggle with, both Unified and SDCCD, is that the intentionality about offering those courses and how do we ensure that students are successful in completing those courses. There's a recognition that these are college courses that will go with them in their transcripts for, as they transfer, as they go to other places. And so building systems that are not only supporting students inside the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. So I think there's some of that has happened. There's been a lot of conversation, at least with at San Diego Community College District, around professional development for faculty and how they teach. And so it's not just one strategy that has yielded where we are currently and how we're growing, but as how we're moving all together in a concerted effort to get to that place. So some of it will be answered, but I'm sure that the data that we're going to be presenting will bring up some other questions.
Great, yeah, because I think it's really helpful for each of our sort of respective systems to know what it is we're doing that's working so that we can do more of those things and invest in those strategies that work.
Absolutely.
All right, looks like Vice President Milgram has another comment.
I just want to see whether anybody other than me, because I don't know the whole story, about addressing the concern that the student trustee brought up, which is that relationships that they build with their high school teachers and whether they teach at community college. I know intuitively some of the challenges around that, but I thought maybe Greg or Nicole can talk about that, because then there's unions and workload. And so I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'd like to see us give him some kind of a response.
I think what we can do is we can definitely look into what those options are. I know it's been brought up in the past. I think the challenge is just figuring out how that would impact the San Diego Unified Educators schedule, right? Because we do employ them as full-time employees, and so there could be a conflict if they're teaching a community college course during their full-time employment with us at San Diego Unified. And so I do think that there's just some technical pieces that we we would have to look into and figure out, and as far as like the timing of those courses and when the teacher's time is with us versus the teacher's time with the college district. So it's definitely something we can look into.
I'll just briefly say that the primary barrier is our minimum qualifications in most academic disciplines is a master's degree. And if the high school instructor doesn't have that, they don't meet our qualifications to teach the course. There are other ways to work around that, and to Nicole's point, there are some other things we could work through, but I have a lot of ideas. The prior district I worked at had a much higher percentage of CCAP being taught by high school instructors, so there are answers, just we need to spend time working on building that out. But I appreciate what you shared about how that would affect your interest and potential success in that. I think that's a really important point for us to take back and think about.
Thank you to both of you. Appreciate
All
it.
right. We're 10 minutes over now, so we're going to move forward to part two, and I'm going to put you at the top of the stack for the next one, Dr. Weierspan.
All right, so since we were talking about data, it is my pleasure to invite Stephen Bass, our researcher extraordinaire at San Diego Community College District. Before turning it over to him, just emphasizing the work that he does and the data that he's going to be presenting today is really a labor of love. So he dives into the data and really tries to understand not only the data that's being presented, but looking from a qualitative perspective and talking to students, and so that the stories and the experiences are reflective in this data. Just a reminder that this data is for 24-25. Understanding that our cycle is a little different, and that the way we gather the information needs to be vetted and needs to be verified and ensure that it's in alignment with the information that we present here. So without further ado, Stephen? Yes.
Could you just give us the essential differences or between the three different special admit student groups?
Yes,
so there's.
Stephen is going to explain.
Stephen's going, okay.
Yes.
All right. I
Stephen's
just wanted to
got
make sure.
all of this.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Bass. I'm a research and planning analyst from the San Diego Community College District Office. And today I'll be sharing data about high school students taking college classes and a little bit of data about the Promise program at SDCCD. Here we're looking at the number of high school students who take college classes, and we have preliminary data for 24-25 that's on the screen here. It's being covered by the talking label. But in 24-25, our preliminary data shows that we served over 6,000 students from SDUSD public schools. These students took college classes through the CCAP program, which is a dual enrollment program in which students enroll in college classes offered on the high school campus. These sections are closed to other college students, so it's just high school students from that high school in those sections. This is our largest wave of high school students taking college classes, with 5,255 students enrolled in CCAP in 24-25. Again, preliminary data for this year. We still have the rest of the semester to get through. We have another 1,000 students taking classes through concurrent enrollment. This is where high school students take college classes on the college campus with other college students. They can also take classes online, but the idea is that they're in college classes with other college students. This is a more independent way of taking college classes. It's less supported, less woven into the high school framework. There's also another dual enrollment program called ACP. This is offered through Mesa College. It operates much the same way that the CCAP program does. Here we're looking at outcomes for high school students taking college classes. This is across all of those three types of special admin enrollment that we looked at on the prior slide. In 24-25, 90% of enrollments in college classes were successful, the same percentages in 22-23. We're looking at the percentages here broken out by the college that offered the class. So the bottom line here is that most high school students taking college classes are successful. For the class of 2024, the average units earned for high school students graduating was 9.2. That's up a unit from the class of 2023, so that's good news. That's reflecting both increased offerings of college classes as well as increased success in those classes, and increased rates of students taking more than one class. Finally, for the class of 2024, we had almost 1,300 seniors meet the California Community College Vision 2030 benchmark of 12 plus units of dual enrollment. So this is good news. It's about 1 in 3 seniors who graduated from high school that year. The next few slides are going to talk about our gaps in access to these programs, focusing on gaps in access for Latino and African American students. Before we dive into that data, I want to take 2 slides to talk about the metrics that we use to measure access and talk about how we identify disproportionate impact in access. So the main metric that we use is participation rate. Participation rate is the percent of students at a high school who are taking college classes. So at this high school on screen that has 10 students at it, the 3 students in blue taking college classes would mean that this high school has a 30% participation rate. The way that we identify significant gaps in access is with disproportionate impact. To calculate disproportionate impact, we look at participation rates for one group, so that'd be a group on the left, like Latino students, and we compare that to the participation rate of all other students at that high school. So at this high school that has 20 students at it, the group on the left has a participation rate of 20%, and the group on the right has a participation rate of 33%. To identify disproportionate impact, we take the ratio of the group that we're interested in to all their students. And when that ratio falls below 80%, or 0.8, then that group is disproportionately impacted in access to college classes. So in this case here, the group on the left, 20% participation rate, would be disproportionately impacted. The next slide shows this data for Latino students and African American students taking college classes at SDCCD. It also includes the number of students that we need to get out of disproportionate impact for those groups. So it'd be the number of additional students for the group on the left for the ratio to be above 80%. Here's our data for the last 5 years. So this shows, for the last 5 years, both African American and Latino students have been disproportionately impacted in access to college classes at SDCCD. We can see that access to college classes has increased over this time. In 2019-20, 16% of students at SDUSD public schools were taking college classes through SDCCD, and that's up to 22% in 23-24. So we have a 6% increase in access for all students. Access has also grown for African American and Latino students. Even if we look compared to last year in 22-23, participation rates went up 2% for each group. We can also see that there is a big gap in access, though. Participation rates for African American and Latino students are lower than the district-wide average. The numbers on the bottom are the number of additional students that we would need for disproportionate impact to not be present for these groups. For African American students, it's about 10 students in each of the last 3 years. So that means that we would have needed 10 additional African American students for there to not be disproportionate impact. For Latino students, we would have needed almost 400 more Latino students taking college classes in 23-24 for there to not be disproportionate impact. Thinking about that number, and also looking at the slide here, I apologize. Thinking about that number of additional students that we need for disproportionate impact to not be present, particularly in light of the experiences that students taking college classes shared and the impact that it had on their educational journeys, I like to remind folks of the vast diversity that is included in our race and ethnicity reporting categories. This slide, it's a little hard to see on the screen here, has 11,485 dots on it. Each dot represents one of the Latinx students who was enrolled at an SDUSD public school in 23-24. On the right, there are 1,970 dots that are green. These are the students who did take community college classes. There are also 386 orange dots next to that that represent the additional students that we would need for there to not be disproportionate impact. And the purpose of these dots is to remind us that Latino students represent an enormous variety of cultural, linguistic, and socioeconomic diversity. And when we talk about expanding access for these students, we're talking about expanding access for exactly the group of students that CCAP legislation directs us to expand college opportunities for, students who have been historically underrepresented in higher education. However these students are identified, we see gaps for them in our access data, in our outcome data at SDCCD, and in subsequent wage and employment data after college. So even as we, in this world, thinking about all the implications of our work, we continue to see disproportionate impact for these students in our data in each of the last 5 years, and it remains really important for us to not just expand access to the program and open more seats, but also to deliberately target recruitment and student support services to help these students complete more classes. Moving on to the Promise program. So the Promise program supports first-year students in college. So after students graduate high school and they enroll at college, they can participate in the Promise program. The most recent cohort started in fall 2024 and had 1,330 students from SD-USD public schools. This is an increase of 27% over the last year. The entrants from SD-USD, so the students who enrolled in Promise, who are in their first year of college, represented about half of the students, about half of the first-year students from SD-USD received the San Diego Promise Scholarship in this year, in 24-25. The Promise program shows slightly higher outcomes for students who are in the program than for students who are not. That's particularly significant for students who are unhoused and single parents. We continue to see disproportionate impact for African American students in the Promise program compared to other groups. The good news is for Latinx students, we did not see disproportionate impact for the first time in 3 years in course success. So this is good news. At the same time, as we think about continuing to expand the program, we also want to think about commensurate increases to support staff to continue to support student success. And this is data that relates to output 2A on the goals. My apologies for not pointing it out earlier, but on the slides that have the participation rate data, that relates to outputs 1B and 1C for the goal 1. That's all the data that I have here. Happy to bring up Drs. Roberson and Topham, and also I can answer any questions that we have about the data.
Thank you so much. Jen, do you have some additional comments, or should we move to board discussion? Okay, so we will tack back to our 15 or so minutes of board discussion, and I see Trustee Barrera with his hand up, or Vice President Barrera with his hand up. Oh, I did put you on the stack from the last one. Good memory, Casey. Mike?
That I have both the community college credential in math and have taught both at the same time, in the evenings or during the summer. So it's possible to do, but not a lot of folks have the academic master's degree. They have it in education. You have to have it in that subject area if you're going to teach math or English or whatever it is. So you're right, Craig, to your question. But I had a question about the middle college. It's not middle school, it's middle college, right? So it starts at what level? Ninth grade. I think folks were getting that mixed up. It's not really middle school. It's high school and then middle on into the college, and they call it middle college.
Yes, and I think the reference was ensuring that our elementary and middle school families know about the options across the board.
And that relates to the last question that I have, because many years ago, I thought the state made it a mandate that in the 8th grade, all children had to work with their counselors and their parents to do a projection for the next 4 years at least of the classes they needed to take in order to pursue some vague goal that they had. If they were interested, say, in pre-med, then they needed to take all of the mathematics classes and so forth. So is it still a requirement that in the 8th grade, they must sit down with the counselor and the parent has to sign off on the classes that they need to take, at least on a preliminary basis?
That is an ideal state of best
Okay, we didn't
practice
reach
that
it.
does not happen across
Okay.
the board.
Thank you, Trustee Weyers-Payne. Next up is Vice President Barrera.
Thank you, President Pedersen. So one data point that we've discussed in prior joint board meetings is not just high school students taking community college classes, but high school students taking the full career pathway course sequences. And I think that's really critical data. The experience that our student speakers shared with us is about a very different high school experience, certainly than we've had in the past. And we're trying to get to scale so that actually that becomes the common experience, of high school students. And so I know as we're having a discussion, and I agree with Trustee Hazen and Superintendent Bagula's idea that we have another meeting in the fall to look at the data that's, come through. But as we're sort of talking about moving goalposts and data, which I think is fair enough, given, how well we're doing, I would want us to keep an eye on that data point, so not just students taking 2 community college courses, but students who are actually completing a career pathway sequence.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That is a part of San Diego Unified's board goals and our interim goals with regards to CCTE completion, dual enrollment courses, and then the completion of A through G. So in-house, we do monitor those and then do progress monitoring at our board meetings. If that is part of the feedback that we want to incorporate as like a all-inclusive package, we could talk about that and present in future meetings, yes.
I've got Hayes and then Trustee Cruz after that.
Yeah, I would just say, since we're monitoring that data point already, it would be great to add it in. And just, it's a clarifying question. You could you complete a pathway with 2 courses? So, because I think last year when we had talked about it, the assumption was that many students who are completing 2 courses are completing 2 courses and also a pathway. Is that
Yeah, so
right?
when we talk about our division, college and career technical education, so we blur them together often, but many of our students have a 3-course sequence. We call it the introductory course, that's the beginning level, then the concentrator course, that's the mid-level, and then their capstone class. In order to meet that lever on the California College and Career Indicator dashboard, they needed to have taken that capstone course.
I see.
And so we are working with some of our schools because there are impacts to our students' schedules on a 2-course sequence versus the 3-course sequence. And some sites have shifted to that and some still do the 3-course model.
Yes.
But 2 is allowable, yes.
Got it. Yeah, so it'd be great to hear, since we already have that, if, we come back together in the fall, how we're doing with that, in that regard. And then, seeing this increase in Promise students, this 27% increase seems really significant. Is that as big a leap as it looks, and how do we get there?
The Promise program supports a lot of students. I think Luke may be able to speak to that a little bit more, but it's just the number of students who complete a Promise application and sign up for a full load of classes the fall of their first year at community college.
So we're bringing up the expert.
Thank you. Yeah, tell us why and how do we do more of it?
Yeah, real exciting. Last year we took it as a charge, and I really want to acknowledge our Promise teams who are here in the crowd. We've actually really streamlined the Promise enrollment process. We combined our contract as well as application, really allowing us to fast track that enrollment process for our students here at the district. We're working really closely with the CCTE team as well as our counseling and guidance team at San Diego Unified, and I think the information sessions along with programs like the Get Started series, along with the tremendous services that have been expanded through the welcome centers at the district, SDCCD, has really lended to that. And I think our heightened communication this past year, we've utilized some different modalities of communication like text message, as well as using our checklist system within our Campus Solutions program, really helps students understand what they needed to complete. And there was just a lot of intentional efforts that were being made. At our district office, every single San Diego Unified student that had a pending application and also pending items for Promise were called. And that's really one of the biggest efforts that we saw this year. So we absolutely plan to continue to do this. And it's a labor of love, and we kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And I really want to acknowledge the campuses for all their efforts that they put in, as well as our partners at San Diego Unified for making sure we got across that finish line.
Thanks for all the work.
All right, I have Trustee Cruz, and then I have Trustee Magana.
Thank you, President Peterson. So, do we have any examples or methods of strategies that either our district or SDCCD have used to increase college course enrollment from these underrepresented groups that has brought promising data?
Yes, so one thing that San Diego Unified has been working towards is our data dashboards. And so we have a series of what we know as data collaboration meetings with our high school principals. in that our data team has devised these dashboards where we're frequently monitoring the enrollment of the groups that we talked about this evening. And so a good example is that each of our each of our high schools, they analyze the data with regards to the enrollment of our Hispanic student population at their school sites and their African American population. And then we work to sit alongside the counselors to encourage our students to take a course and to give them the strategies and the support system necessary to embark on that journey. Many students have, some underlying fears of the rigor or the perceived rigor of a college course when they feel that they may have been told that they're not ready or they're not able. It's a belief system. So we're really working alongside our counselors and our site leaders to really encourage our students and remove all those obstacles and barriers. So this data is talked about frequently at our data collabs, and then we talk about promising practices with regards to family communication, the benefits of taking dual enrollment courses, what that means for a high school transcript, what that means for your future when you leave us at the high school. And so those are the things that we're working through right now with each of our high school sites.
Thank you.
Trustee Magana.
I wanted to go back to the question that you had, Trustee Hazen, and that was, and then also to Susan, about the Promise program and the increase. Was that also related to the capacity? How many students could be served and the funding? And that was why maybe there was more funding and more capacity? And that's why there was such a huge increase as well?
Yeah, so our funding's remained relatively the same in regards to Promise. Obviously, we're increasing our foundation funding, so private donations. But really, we've really just been utilizing our full budget. We've rolled over some budget year over year, especially since the pandemic. But really, with Promise, we've just been really maximizing it and pushing it through. Again, we've extended admission, and I was actually really surprised with the delays in the release of the financial aid applications. I think we all were. So we continue to push, and we kept going, kept going, and I don't think it's something that we need to backtrack on. I think we need to continue to push that. But no issues with funding. We just continue to really maximize our budget, and with the foundation, it's really allowed us to admit some more students while making sure that we continue to fund that same amount.
When I shake their hands, that's something that we do.
Trustee Weyers-Payne.
Are you getting the money? I mean, when I'm talking to all of the students, as I shake their hands, and you all know I go through that routine, and they say they're going to community colleges, then my next question is, talk to your counselor about getting the money. That's all I say. And they think about the money.
And if
I mean,
may,
the scholarship.
Sorry. Last year, one of the points of discussion amongst this group was increasing the number of FAFSA completion. So what we did was we increased the number of workshops, and so we collaborated, San Diego Unified and SDCD, in offering the Get Started and other spaces with the colleges and with folks at Unified to increase. So we, just from our perspective at SDCCD, we saw an increase in the number of FAFSA completions, even with all of that, and so understanding that a lot of it comes from the state, right? So they need to complete the FAFSA in order to get that Promise grant that comes from the state, and then we have the additional dollars that, the philanthropic dollars that are acquired through our fundraising.
Excellent, okay. Just a very quick question, sort of business question. It seems like there's some board interest on Goal 1A around the sensitivity of that metric. It's clearly a little more sensitive to our engagement than we had anticipated, and we moved it, like my son's PS5 controller, we moved it, 10%. So it seems like there's probably some interest on the board to make a motion to readdress that, either through altering it somewhat to be a pathway completion metric, or just raising that percentage. Is now the best time to take that motion? Or I see the final part is about goal highlights. So would you prefer us to take that sort of a motion after the goal highlights section?
I don't believe we have a preference for when it comes.
Okay. Well, okay, well, then why don't we move forward, why don't we do it right now, if we have the information that we're going to have, if that's, we got the research on it, I would entertain a motion on, oh,
Could I just provide some clarification on the pathway reference? Because I just want to make sure that
Interim Deputy Superintendent DeWitt.
I think it would be just beneficial to understand all the different ways that our students engage with our community college partnership. So when we're talking about pathways, that could be representative of multiple ways to engage in college courses. So we do have courses that are college credit by exam courses, so we call them articulated courses. So they are part of our San Diego Unified CCTE pathways, and they're courses that are taught by our instructors. But because the content aligns with coursework that's offered at our community college district, students that are in articulated courses can take an exam at the end of their CCTE course and actually earn college credit if they earn a grade of B or higher on the exam. So that's one way that you could say they participate in a pathway, is when they're participating in a CCTE pathway that ends in a capstone course that offers articulated college credit. Another way that they can participate in a pathway is they may be able to take the beginning courses of a pathway that then lead to them transitioning to the community college to finish the rest of that sequence. So for example, I know at Scripps we had an administration of justice pathway where they actually took the first 2 courses in that sequence while they were at Scripps Ranch High School, and then they could continue on to complete the pathway at the community college after graduation. So that's another example of a pathway. And then I think the third thing to acknowledge too is that there are some students that are just very interested in taking transferable credits. So not necessarily within a pathway per se, but they want to make sure that they're taking as many courses as possible that fulfill general education requirements. So I wouldn't necessarily deem that as a pathway, but it's definitely probably one of our more popular options for students. So if we are going to discuss adjusting goal language or making some sort of like very targeted goal, I just want us to understand that there's many different ways that we engage in quote unquote pathways with our community college district.
So Deputy Superintendent DeWitt, it sounds like what you're saying on its face is that the pathway metric is a little bit complicated, and that we might be better off just instructing staff to find an appropriate increase in that percentage that they think is achievable, something like that.
I think what I would say is like it would definitely be advantageous to track just how our students are participating in courses, whether it's through articulated credit and completion of a pathway, if it's through the starting of a pathway, or if it's through, fulfilling general education requirements. We can definitely present data on that. But I would think that if we wanted to adjust goal language, that maybe we're looking at overall participation again in dual enrollment courses, and then we can definitely disaggregate the data down just to see how our students are engaging in those courses.
And also, if I might remind everybody, is that we may want to wait until the new set of data comes out to really ascertain the percentage in which we would like to see an increase, right? Because what we're talking about is a year ago data, and then the data for this are still coming through. So just understanding really the entirety and perhaps providing an update in the fall of where we landed, so that when we're setting the goals, it's really reflective of the work and the increase that we have seen year to year. So that's just a suggestion.
Fair enough.
And then if I may add something really quickly to clarify. Vice President Barrera was referring to in the past, we reported out specifically on our CTE articulation credit by exam and those results. While it wasn't forecasted in the slide deck, it's in your report card that you all received on page 2. So we do track and monitor that data, and we have goals around that. So we recognize that it wasn't presented on the slides, and we can then bring that back if that is a desire. But we do track that, and we monitor that.
Vice President Barrera?
Yeah, just a couple of points. I appreciate President Pedersen, and I appreciate Nicole and Jen and Susan, those clarifications. In terms of adjusting goals, I think the best way to do that is to ask the staff to come back with recommendations on adjusted goals after looking at the data that we get through this year. And I think I'll just speak for myself. What I'm interested in is the completion of the course sequences, getting to the capstone courses, but also things like professional certifications, internship or apprenticeship experiences. But again, it's getting back to what we heard our student presenters talk about as their experience, and how much is that a common experience, for our high school students. So I'd ask, the staff, as you're thinking about goal adjustment, to think about all of that in addition to, sort of course completion and success.
All right, I am hearing in my earpiece, which I don't have, that our 15 minutes is up on this one, so we'll hold additional questions until after the final report. Proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. We now, as I mentioned before, we're going to be speaking to the goal highlights that were established last year. Each of our colleges and our team at the district are going to be talking about efforts and what made the difference from one year to the next, and how we were able to incorporate the discussions that happened last year into the plan that we executed this year and what the outcomes were. So I will turn it over to Clarissa Padilla, the Director of Outreach and Promise at San Diego City College.
Good afternoon. I'm excited to share some of our practices and activities, and I think it'll answer some of the questions from our board members as well as our student trustees. So at San Diego City College, we recognize that access to college begins long before high school graduation. This is particularly important for our Black, African American, Latinx, AAPI, and first-generation college students. At City, we have resources to lead early commitment to college initiatives, which includes going out to all the 4th and 5th grade classes in the Crawford cluster. So this initial experience for our young students and having them meet college students is tremendously impactful for them to see their futures as college students. Through our collaboration with the Strong Workforce Partnership, we have also participated in Adopt a School with Mount Hope, Millennial Tech, and Knox Middle Schools, providing workshops and activities on college and career readiness. At Lincoln High School, we have founded Workforce Wednesdays, a collaborative partnership with our professors at San Diego City College, our sister campuses, and outside agencies. This type of workshop really allows students to learn about CTE programs, certifications, and our motto there is trade school is college. We have also housed outreach ambassadors at each of our feeder schools, including San Diego High, Crawford, Hoover, Morse, and Lincoln, and they are there on a weekly basis. This practice has allowed our college students to be mentors to these students. They do reflect the community that we serve, and they offer mentorship, guidance, and support as students as they're navigating CCAP classes and also their options after college. At City College, we're committed to meeting students where they are, whether that's in the classroom, community spaces, or cultural hubs. We have identity-specific initiatives, including Puente, ICANN for our AAPI students, and Emoja. We also have hosted Undocu Outreach Nights, which is critical for our undocumented students and mixed status families. These initiatives and activities ensure that our students see themselves reflected in higher education and receive culturally affirming guidance. We have had the privilege of working with our Somali faculty at San Diego City College, and we even host specific Somali lunches at Crawford and East African workshops at Hoover. We know that there's a diversity within each demographic of our student, and we want to be mindful of that as well. We also host signing days at each of our feeder schools, which culminate in May and include full enrollment to the college. So it really touches on some of the questions that we had. So this will include City College application, FAFSA, CADA, Promise application, and actual enrollment in classes in May. We also recognize that our students are not just from one identity. Rather, there's often an intersectionality of identities. Next week, we're happy to kick off joining our LGBTQ ally student clubs at San Diego High and at Crawford. We are leading this to build community, provide support, and encourage our students to pursue higher education. We'll be bringing one of our professors, her name is Trissy McGee, and she'll be sharing the amazing opportunity to join our first ever LGBTQ Learning Community Pilot, which is going to be this fall, and it's going to be hosted through her English 101 class, which will be taught from an LGBTQ perspective. For our Spanish-speaking families, we've expanded Spanish parent presentations, so families have the resources to navigate financial aid, CCAP dual enrollment, and career pathways in their own language. Through our outreach mentors, we look to expand this to include Vietnamese and Filipino families. At Morris High School, we worked closely with our counselor, Christy Flint, to include middle school parents in our CCAP dual enrollment parent nights. By intentionally inviting our middle school families, they were able to make early informed decisions on which high schools to attend and the benefits that those opportunities have. So at Morse, we have a unique pilot nursing pathway. We know that visibility and engagement matter. That's why we have expanded campus tours and high school visits, connecting students directly with our faculty, student mentors, and support programs. Workforce Wednesday, open house events, and signing days show students that San Diego City College is not just a place to attend, but a place to belong. We also share the amazing culturally responsive holistic services we provide to our students, including the Fresh Cuts Barbershop, Yo Soy STEM Bridge Program, our EOPS Summer Bridge Program for our first-generation college students. And I did want to take this opportunity to circle back to a comment made by one of our student trustees on communication with our high school students and the various opportunities that college classes can provide them. At City College, we are kicking off an expanded concurrent enrollment program this summer, which will include online and in-person classes. There will be 14 classes that have been identified and shared with our amazing partners at our CCTE office. These courses all do align and have indicators as to which I-GETC transfer area they complete, as well as A through G course requirement completion. At San Diego City College, we're committed to ensure our historically marginalized communities have a clear, supported pathway from K-12 to higher education and the workforce. Our outreach efforts are more than events. They are committed to breaking systemic barriers and fostering a culture of access, belonging, and student success. And with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Associate Dean of Outreach, Tavares Franklin from San Diego College of Continuing Education.
Dangerous coming up these stairs, right? Good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be here to showcase what we do as a district, right? And how we work with San Diego Unified. This is what collaboration looks like, right? I want to scream from the top equity and inclusion the same way that Kendrick Lamar says mustard, right? But it's not enough just to say it, right? The work that we do at the College of Continuing Education, we're committed to it, right? We're passionate. And when we're talking about dual enrollment, we're talking about concurrent enrollment, it takes intention, right? Not only in the classroom, not only with our student services, but in hiring the individuals who go out and speak to these students, right? When you're looking at our slide and you see Natalia and you see Antonio, they're from our community. They've taken our programs, right? This year, we were able to offer an HVAC cohort with Lincoln High School. Clarissa was joking with me. She was like, "Are you going to piggyback?" Right? I will, right? Without the work of City College and the Workforce Wednesday, that wouldn't be possible. And so by Workforce Wednesday, and doing the 3 I's, inspiring, right? Being influencing and being impactful with the work that we do here in outreach. We were able to inspire some students to redefine success on their own terms. We started the talks about this HVAC cohort in the fall semester. We offered it in spring. Of a class of 33 students, 17 of those students are Lincoln High School students. It wasn't enough to just offer that class. We found when we had those students walk over from Lincoln High School that we found that there was food insecurities. So luckily enough, we have a SDCCE Cures program, our outreach coordinator, Andrea, and the coordinator, Jessica, from that program, teamed up to provide hot meals to our students. Because it's a little bit challenging to learn when your stomach's growling, right? You've been in school from 8 to 2:35, right? And then you walk across the bridge to take a class from 3 to 6, right? And so being able to address these needs, this is why equity and inclusion matters, right? And then when you look at our apprenticeship and our vocational expo, that's our 5th annual expo. We're trailblazers. It's been so successful. They have it up in Poway. It's everywhere. They have it at Grossmont. And so when we start talking about success, it's redefining it on their own terms, whether it's college, 2-year, 4-year, or a CTE pathway, you know? It's introducing this at each and every level and being intentional about it. And with that being said, I want to introduce Caesar from Mesa.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cesar Gaxilla. I'm the outreach technician. And just to use the Tavares' line, just to piggyback off what he was going, it's kind of the common theme about the Promise program, CCAP. We're all about that. I actually just wanted to say I graduated from Point Loma High School. I did take a CCAP class. I am a product of the program itself. The Promise program wasn't around when I graduated back in 2007. That was quite a while ago. But I'm in charge of a group of 11 ambassadors that go out to the high schools, 4 project assistants. I occasionally go out to the high schools, Point Loma, Kearney, all those high schools, and I supervise what they're doing. So I do see the direct impact of what the ambassadors are having on these new students. And then one neat thing that I like about when we hire new ambassadors, we try to hire ambassadors that are from our feeder high school. So I think that just makes it more impactful because they actually, like myself, they've been through the system. They're not just talking about it. They know the result. They know that things can happen. That's just a powerful thing. I think. And then I was just going to talk about the Promise program, like I was saying. So the Promise program is one of the main things that gets high school students' attention. Besides, at Mesa College, we have our allied health programs in the medical field. Promise program. We are expanding it, and my dean and my coordinator wanted us to specifically, increase our numbers in specific populations, such as the Latinx, African American, but specifically the LGBTQIA+. So as you guys all know, we are trying to leverage a way to how to identify students to be eligible for the Promise program through this pathway. Just so this picture on the screen up here is actually just 3 weeks ago. This was an event that the Mesa Outreach Office had with the Pride Center at Mesa College. We had slightly under 80 students that went there. It was nice seeing that the students were welcoming into this new pathway. So the goals for this for Mesa Outreach are to collaborate with the Mesa Pride Center to correct the sorry, I can't see that part. I didn't make the slide, I'm sorry. So to collaborate with Mesa Pride Center to connect with the LGBTQIA+ students at high schools and host Promise information sessions, such as the one we did last month. And then our goals are to develop strategies for building support, marketing, and outreach to increase enrollment at CTE programs. And then the steps that we're taking as an office of the outreach is to work with the Mark Twain High School in the CTE efforts, as you guys know, the career transfer efforts, and then the CTE partnership with San Diego Unified, the school counselors, and the partner conference hosted at Mesa at the campus of Mesa College not too long ago. With that being said, I'd like to pass it off to, I'd like to introduce the acting director of Promise and Outreach at San Diego Miramar College, Olivia Piccola.
Good evening, everyone. I was going to say good morning, but we are well past that. I just want to thank you all for creating community and space for us to share from our colleges. Again, my name is Olivia Picola. I'm currently the Acting Director of Promise and Outreach at Miramar College. Previously, I was at Mesa for 10 years, so really dedicated to this district. I love everything we do here. Today, I'm going to share about Miramar College and how we are taking intentional steps to better serve our historically underrepresented communities and students with a strong focus on African American, Latinx, and LGBTQIA+ communities. For our African American and Latinx students, we are working to expand our dual enrollment efforts through targeted outreach. This is something as simple as improving our website so there's better access, better representation of the students we wish to continue serving, as well as increase outreach to our families with translated materials and community-based info sessions. We also aim to expand our CCAP family nights, ensuring parents and guardians are playing an active role in their students' academic success. For our LGBTQIA+ students, we are looking to increase collaboration with our San Diego Unified School District to raise awareness of Miramar's Pride Center through workshops, outreach events, and joint programming. We also plan to host an annual open house for our LGBTQIA community to foster a greater sense of belonging, to improve retention through early intervention tracking. Looking ahead, we are working towards stronger branding for Miramar College, including the development of our first ever multilingual view book to enhance accessibility for prospective students as well as current students. We are also prioritizing collaboration with our LEAD office, which is our Leading Equity, Anti-Racism, and Diversity team, focusing on introducing workshops led by Black and Latinx leaders in the community to support students with their journey. I also want to share that at Miramar College, next month we are hosting a leadership breakfast with our feeder high school principals, liaisons, along with our leadership at Miramar to really continue these efforts and hold each other accountable in this work. So thank you so much for your time, and I'm going to introduce Luke Menchaca, Dean of Outreach and at our district office. Thank you.
Well, huge thank you to all the outreach teams here today, and just some awesome content. Board, it's great to see you and to share. And I remember being in this space, not this space, but this space together last year, and a lot of things we discussed, we took to heart, and we moved forward on. So I'm really excited to report on this. We'll start with our LGBTQI students. We actually planned an empowerment session, we're calling it, actually for next week, March 26th, and we're actually going to be working with the Department of Youth Advocacy at San Diego Unified, and we're partnering to host this session where we're going to bring all of our Pride Center faculty, coordinators to meet with students through San Diego Unified through a virtual session. We wanted to do this, obviously, when we think back about one of our goals when we're making that transition for our LGBTQI students. Warm handoff, yes, that's great, but what are we doing to really plug them into the pipeline of support before they even graduate? Some of the things we're going to be focusing on this session is going to be about San Diego Promise, early college credit opportunities, post-high school completion, and really plugging into the center. We're actually working with our district-based researcher, Jamie, and we're going to be developing a mini survey / kind of data collection tool to safely collect that student data to then provide some follow-up to our students post-session. The really highlight of that session that we're going to be supporting is really bringing some SDCCD students to kind of share their experience through the process of coming to our district and obviously being successful, some of which are actually our project assistants, so students that are working with us while being students at our district. So we're really excited about that session. That's coming up next week. Moving our way down, I'll definitely shout out one of our deans in educational services, Lillian Garcia, as well as all of our undocumented student and dreamer centers at our school here at SDCCD. But again, we're going to be partnering with San Diego Unified to host a Know Your Right session. We're going to be collaborating with Jewish Family Services to provide some resources and support for students, again, as they transition to our district. What did he have to know as a student who identifies as undocumented? What are some of the resources that are available? And again, really discussing our intentional San Diego Promise pathways, early college credit opportunities if they're younger students, as well as our post-high school completion and plugging into the centers. One thing I want to note, and I really thank our CCTE team, they're always, yes, let's work with our seniors, but what can we do to start meeting with our younger students so they're plugged in before even senior year kind of comes along. So that's something we've really done. So big shout out to all of them in the crowd today. We talked about our promise increase, and it's not by accident. There's a ton of efforts that are being made. The past 3 years, we've been working with translation services through San Diego Unified, where we've been able to provide our sessions in American Sign Language, Spanish, Tagalog, Japanese, and even Somali for our students that come through that session. The large majority of students are seniors, families, community members that are coming to these spaces. We don't just invite our San Diego Unified partners, we're inviting different programs around the region. And again, we've seen a huge influx of adults being in the room when we presented on Zoom. One thing I'm really proud of, and maybe something we could touch on in the near future, is the increase of adults in the San Diego Promise. We increased 2 pathways, which are 2 tracks, I should say. One for returning students, so students that left our district at one time and wanted to come back, and then even students that identify in our special populations, which includes some of the populations you're seeing here, including LGBTQI students, as well as our undocumented students. So special population pathways to the Promise is definitely something we're pushing really hard. And huge thank you to our CCTE team at San Diego Unified for supporting with coordinating those translation services. We actually present those together. Finally, for this slide, I really want to shout out again this professional development session. I actually got to meet with Alyssa and Adriana from CTE, and we started brainstorming this session that we were going to work with our counseling and guidance team at San Diego Unified. And we started thinking about what can we do to really make an impactful session? Is it just information, or is it collaboration and exploration? So we actually hosted a real brief informational session for our San Diego Unified counselors through a professional development opportunity hosted at the College of Continuing Education. This session actually opened up dialogue for us to go back and forth on where are we missing the mark with communication? What are the major pain points of our enrollment process? What are the major pain points in our communication, whether it be marketing materials? What are we missing the mark on? So we spent about an hour together, twice, 2 days in a row, and really had some great sessions coming out of there. That dialogue really formulated our counseling and community partner conference that we hosted just a few weeks back. So if we can advance the slide, that'd be great. Yep, sorry. Yeah, so again, this is about our 3rd or 4th year. We started this program over the pandemic, and it's evolved tremendously. The feedback we received for our partners from this conference was tremendous. I won't quote them, but I think one of the quotes was, "This was the best conference I've ever attended," and even you didn't waste my time coming to this conference. That was like the best compliment that someone gave me, even through our survey. So, I mean, what better way, right? So we're batting 100 on that one, right? So really, we touched on the admissions process and all the different pain points that folks kind of endure through it. So we touched on each and every one. Now, the one thing to note is the largest majority of folks that attended were from San Diego Unified. Yes, counselors, but also different practitioners like your TRIO Upper Bound programs, different services that are offered throughout your college. We understand that it takes several voices from around the student to get to our district and get through the process. So we made it extremely inclusive. You can see all the things that we covered specifically, but the one big one that I want to touch on, oops, is Steve right behind me? Yes. What could we have done? What could we do to make sure that we're taking the time to sit with our San Diego Unified counselors, CCAP leads, to see where the gaps are and what can we do to address those? And I won't steal any shine. I'll pass it over to Steve for a special session that we developed for this conference just for San Diego Unified staff and counselors.
So as we shared the gaps in access to college classes before, we see these gaps in our data year after year. And one of the things that we've learned over these years working on this data is that site level engagement is really important. The story that we tell across the district is going to look a little bit different or a lot different depending on the high school that we're working with the counselors from. So we developed a site level dashboard that provides the data that we shared with you to the level of a specific high school. And it includes information about students enrolled, access rates, the number of students to proportional participation, units earned, all the metrics that we talked about today. But in a format that's really usable for practitioners at a site. So we had a 45-minute session where we did a brief overview and then provided 30 minutes for the counselors to click through their data. There was this moment of silence where all I could hear was the clicking of mini mice, and it was beautiful to a researcher's ears. And so this was a really good opportunity for counselors to get hands-on experience with the data that you all saw today, ask really deep, meaningful questions of it, and start to make plans to address these gaps at their sites.
And then I think from there, is that okay or you want to say it? Oh, we can open it up for discussion. We'll take some questions.
All right, round 3. Thank you so much. Do we have any board comments or questions? Look at that. Discipline. Okay, I see Vice President Milgram and then Baza.
I just wanted to say, that how heartwarming it is and how empowering it is to see the LGBTQ+ community featured in so many of these presentations. As little as 3 years ago, it was not even part of the discussion. So I just want to thank everybody here that participated in that inclusion effort. That just really makes me really happy, and I just wanted to share that with you. And it's unfortunate that the time that we're in now requires us to be even more intentional about the queer community. And so I wish it was different, but the fact that we have all these things in place now can ensure that as much as we can to make that community feel safe in all of our educational institutions. So thank you to everybody. I appreciate it. All the board members, everybody that participated in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Milgram. Trustee Baza.
Thank you, President Pedersen, and I would like to echo Vice President Milgram's comments about the LGBTQ community, and for too long they haven't really been recognized, and they really are, another word we're not supposed to use, vulnerable population in our community. So it's important that we are recognizing that. And thank you just in general for all the work that you've done. I can see, each year I come to this, I'm always very impressed, but just, moving our students forward and continuing that work, and I know there's just even for this meeting, just get all the work being done behind the scenes and throughout the year. And I had a question about the enrollment at our community colleges. Like how much is represented from our high schools in San Diego Unified? Just not to put any college on the spot, but I'm curious because I'm not really sure how much we are represented, our students at the San Diego Community College District. And also, is there one particular college where we have a higher percentage of students, or are they all kind of about the same? Or I kind of wanted to get an idea of who's going where, and I think that's also important because are they, obviously I would assume a lot of it is transportation if something's nearby, or are they seeking out a certain college like Mesa College for the health careers, or is it just kind of like kind of a similar amount throughout the city?
So we do have the specific data for each of the colleges available on the linked resources on the report card. Generally, the high school students taking college classes accounts for about 10% of the college's population. It does vary a little bit year to year, term to term, but I would defer to the specific data that's available on the report card because it does vary depending on where you're looking. So the college level data is available in our linked report.
Trustee Nieto Sr. It's the button right in front of the light there. Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate the comments that Trustee Milgram made and around a particular special population that has been ignored forever. There's another population that I think really needs attention right now, and that's our Arab Muslim students. I've heard many reports that there are kids in the schools that are being called names and that feel unwelcome. And I'm wondering if we've done anything to look at that population, to see if we've got any programs to give them some support and make sure they have a sense of belonging as well.
I know City College mentioned a little bit ago they're utilizing their Somali counselors to kind of support their students, but definitely an area that we can continue to grow. And just like last year, we'll take this with us and we'll put some intentional effort into reaching and utilizing all the resources that SCCCD has to make sure the students feel welcome and supported through their process of coming to our district.
From both systems, the public schools, the elementary schools, junior highs, high schools, and the community colleges, what are we doing for these particular students who really are feeling under threat with Trump? I mean, I hate to bring up that name, but, we're looking at the other populations that are targeted, and we're not looking at that one.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Hazen.
So agree with the feedback, and I can say just quick anecdote. I know just today at UC High School, we had a program put on by our Equity and Belonging Department specifically for Arab and Muslim students. So I know it's something that our team is focused on, so really appreciate that feedback. I'm wondering, so we're hearing all of these amazing things that are happening, and I think we're all excited to hear about it and seeing a few data points that are moving in the right direction. I'm wondering if there are things that are proving challenging as we're working to achieve these shared goals. I know, Jen, you described work that you and the team are doing with counselors. I mean, you said, looking in the mirror and, identifying some of these hard truths about where we're getting in the way of student success. So I'm wondering, as you think about the work that we intend to do collectively between now and this time next year, what are some of the things that we have to work extra hard on that are proving a little trickier than we anticipated, if any?
Thank you for the question. I think that, I know, so the conversations that happened last year with the joint board kind of set the foundation, right? For the first time, we were able to set goals, and they are big goals, and that take a lot of, I keep using the word intentionality throughout the night. And that's the piece of it, right, is we have programs. How do you scale the programs? And I think that's the challenge that both of our systems are currently having to address, right, when it comes to funding, when it comes to not only from a financial perspective, but also human resources. So these are very complex times, not only in dealing with these things, and I don't like using the word dealing, because when we are talking about people, we don't deal with them, right? We work with them, we support them, and we serve them. And so I think the challenge for both of our organizations is how do we scale that, and how do we maintain the quality of the programs that you saw today that we spoke to. And so I think that's the challenge that we're going to have to continue to address. How do we work and how do we deliver the services, and how do we increase, right? To Trustee Senior's point, right? There's another group that we need to really look into, and this is just going to continue to grow in the next few years. Unfortunately, that's the reality that we're living with. But really always keeping the student-centered, student-focused, regardless of the chaos that's being created around us and within us. How do we control that so that we're able to really address the needs of our students? So answering that question is resources, right? It's individuals, it's having enough time, because these are joint board goals. And then we have our own realities on our day-to-day operations, and how do we do that, but how do we continue to grow and move that forward? So I think one of the things that I'm super proud is how close our teams have become, especially over the last couple of years. And so when there's a problem, we really huddle, we come together, we say, okay, how are we going to address it with the limited time and effort that we have. So is there a specific answer to that? No, but I think it's a day-to-day situation in which we every day try to do better and best for our students, understanding that it's not just what's happening within our schools and within our communities, but also what they're bringing in to our spaces, right? We have increased our services for basic needs, unhoused, mental health. I mean, the other one that's huge is how do we help our students navigate through all this when, especially with our undocumented students, not only are they not they're the mixed statuses, right? So they might have their papers in place, but then their families, their immediate community are not doing that. So I think those are going to be our challenges moving forward. How do we continue to keep them engaged and not give up? And I think it's that joint effort with our outreach folks, with our Promise folks, with the CCTE, and just really taking it day by day and trying to continue to reach them. Because one of our concerns at SDCCD is that they're going to go away, right? And like we saw happen during COVID, right? We lost students because of the situations. And how do we keep conveying that message that both San Diego Unified and San Diego Community College districts are safe places that we will, I mean, Chancellor Smith, and we'll talk to some of this, but how do we continue with our mission focused on ensuring that our students have that feeling of belonging and that our institutions are a safe place?
Thank you. And I think it would be helpful, so if we're able to come back together in the fall, to think about if there are some, joint budget priorities that we should be thinking about as we're building next year's budgets. And I think also considering some joint fundraising opportunities, right? Is there private philanthropic support out there to support some of this joint work? Because I think it's really exciting and probably very compelling to a lot of funders.
Thank you, Trustee Hazen. I see Trustee Weyers-Payne is flirting with a hand up
My
there.
question is it time for a sermon? I really appreciate what you said and what you've said also, Craig. Anytime any child, any student is harmed, then that's problematic for all of us. And by collecting the data, we can find out which groups, because not only is it, you talked about the Arab population, but then you also have the Jewish population, and you still have African American, you still have Latinx. My nephew in Virginia, on the west side of Virginia, was called the dreaded N-word, where, he's the only African American around. And by an Arab child who doesn't know that we're all in this boat together. We absolutely must teach our young people. All of us, we must take it as a personal responsibility and as a collective responsibility to teach our children that it's wrong to discriminate against anyone who's different. We must do that. And every time, everywhere we see it, we stop and we correct it. And then systematically, in the systems, we do what you said. We have to put forth programs, groups, et cetera, so that we are addressing these needs. It's not going to go away, it's going to get worse. But we must commit ourselves to addressing it personally and collectively as a system. That's my challenge to all of us. I don't care where you are, what you're doing. When you hear it, you see it, you stop it, and you move on. Don't dwell on it, just stop it, let them know it's wrong, and we're not going to tolerate it, and handle it.
Amen.
Sorry.
We got to host the hands now. Trustee Bazo, you lit something in the folks. And Trustee Bazo, and then
Thank you, President
Nieto
Petterson. I
Sr.
just wanted to follow up to my previous comment, and I think along the lines of what Trustee Hazen is mentioning, being able to focus on what we think, we could work together on, fundraising or otherwise. I think it would be helpful at the next meeting, if we're going to have it in the fall, to have that idea of overall enrollment from San Diego Unified, and also at each specific school, what percentage of students are going to each of the 4 community colleges. So if we could make note of that, to include that information for the next meeting, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Trustee Nieto Sr.
I just wanted to note that I think it's a very good idea. It hadn't occurred to me before, but that we have another meeting soon, like in the fall, because just think about all that's happened in the last month. The world will look very different in October from where it does now, given all the things that are just every day popping. So there'll be new challenges probably, and so I'm really glad we've made this decision.
Trustee Nieto Senior,
Stay on top of it.
I'm going to treat that as a motion for a fall meeting, and I think Trustee Hazen had already, she's got a strong second there. So if we want to take a quick vote for a fall meeting, all those in favor? Show of hands. Aye. Okay. Unanimous consent with board members concurring, student board members concurring. And is that good? Yeah, okay. Vice President Milgram.
There are, one of the most aggravating things about what's going on now is there are many empirical studies that show inclusion efforts benefit the groups that are not being targeted for inclusion. So when you make one group of students feel safe, the other students feel safe. They learn about those other students, and we often talk about a student who's different. Well, everybody is different from everybody else. And our society, and it's being encouraged now, focuses on very particular differences. But there's just no question that those kind of inclusive efforts benefit every student there, regardless of what this is not about favoritism. This is not about doing something special for a special group. It benefits all the students that are exposed to that because it builds community and understanding between them. So, and I've read several studies that show, especially with LGBTQ plus students, that those inclusion efforts make the non-LGBTQ students feel safer. They know who they are, and they understand, and they're more likely to defend them, they're more likely to stand up for them, they're more likely to include them. So, and with the last survey that said Gen Z reports that I think 20 to 25% are identifying on the sexual orientation, the SOGI spectrum, that group is only going to get bigger. So we just need to get those folks in elected office faster, because the folks that are there now are really annoying me.
I'll just say one thing. I'll recognize myself to speak. And to say, it's always interesting with these joint board meetings. We all know on our own boards everyone's preoccupation, and we can kind of be like, yeah, that was a very Hazen remark right there from Hazen, or et cetera. But it's interesting on a joint board meeting to start to get an idea of your characters and preoccupations and ideologies and values. So I always appreciate that. And toward that end, today, and I want to thank our presenters, today was the first time, I think our last board meeting, I was like, well, that was fun, but I don't know what the point of that was. But I see now and what the point of that was, because I can see the nature of the collaboration and what it's doing for our students and what it's doing for your students, or our collective students now. But the other thing that comes out of a collaboration is not just that you learn how to collaborate, but that you learn something important about yourself. And so one of the things I want to return to, and here's the preoccupations. You know, the people that I find are most fulfilled in life are the ones that figured out early who they were and then worked to give themselves a life that was appropriate to the nature they discovered in themselves. And so as we're talking about, to a certain extent, an end of our program where you get to high school and then we do the handoff, you realize how important the decisions you made without even knowing they were decisions were that created those trajectories. You realize how important the decisions that were made in the beginning are. And so one of the things that occurs to me as I'm listening to this and about our pathways, and I think President Arroyo's comment kind of, when she was talking about middle school, brought it back to this, some of this is informed by us having kids and seeing, I oftentimes think, God, can somebody just help my kids understand who they are? And because the truth is like, once you understand who you are, it's all easy. It's fun and easy and fulfilling. Hard work is easy. I saw a Horace Mann quote the other day that was like, what is it? a teacher who is not kindling the desire to learn is hammering cold steel. But it's like when you find who you are, it's just a joy. It's a joy to be a teacher of a child that knows who they are. It's a joy to be that child. So taking this discussion about collaboration back to ourselves and for our staff, God, if we could, in elementary school, when teachers really know your kids, I mean, you get to middle school, they got them for an hour, they kind of know your kids. But if we could start early with a really intentional, I don't know whether it's a coursework or curriculum or instruction, that is helping children understand their nature, however you conceive of nature, nurture and nature and all together, but what's their temperament, what's their character, what do they enjoy doing, so that when they get to the level of middle school and deciding where to go to high school, if you want to go to a special program or getting into a career pathways, they actually have somebody that helped them to come to a self-understanding, not told them who they are, but helped guide and develop their self-understanding so that they could make those decisions and save them out. I mean, so many of us had an outbound trip of 30 years, and then you get to a midlife crisis and you've got a wife and a job and bills to pay and kids, and you're like, oh, dude, I wish somebody had saved me the 25-year outward trip, So that's a little bit too, conceptual maybe or dreamy, but if we could think about how we take this conversations we've had tonight and bring it back to 5th grade, to 6th grade. So, yeah. Trustee Hazen and then Trustee Smith. Chancellor Smith.
Well, because I like to, tie things up in nice bows. I love that idea, and also I'm thinking about it, and this is for our team to think about it within the context of our guardrail around motivation, right? And so how might helping students understand their nature fit into that guardrail within the context of this conversation and thinking about how we might be able to connect the two.
Chancellor Smith.
Yeah, I want to come back to the conversation around Goal 1A and the progress made there, but looking at Goals 1B and C, where the disparities are actually larger, not by a huge amount, but they're larger. So I worry that if we just move 1A, we'll come back and see that we met a higher 1A goal and we have the same or an increased disparity. So as we go back to work on that, I'd really like to focus on what would happen if we actually achieved parity in those rates, and what would that do to the overall, because that might set a goal of closing those gaps as a way of achieving a higher 1A target and not just perpetuating the disparities. But as I looked at that chart that Stephen put together with the 11,485 dots representing our Latina students in high school, and thinking about scale, which Vice President Barrera brought up, I think Susan mentioned it as well. As I think about this, it's not how do we add 400 Latina students, it's how do we add 11,485 students. So to the question you asked, Trustee Hazen, I did a forum with a group of faculty who have taught in CCAP to understand what has worked, what have the challenges been. And so I look forward to following up with Dr. Bagula. I received kind of 7 key categories of feedback, things that we need to do better or things we need to do more of in order to scale CCAP at that level. And so I'll have some specifics to bring back that affect us both towards this, but just want to offer that as we go back to work on this in preparation for a fall meeting, that we're very careful about what we do with 1A to make sure that we're actually achieving the full scope of our goals.
Thank you, Chancellor Smith. With that, it looks like we are only probably a half an hour behind schedule, but have had a very good discussion, and it looks like we are now ready, unless I'm mistaken, we are now ready to move to Section F, our joint legislative efforts. Chancellor Smith, could you please present information on community college-sponsored legislation?
Yeah, and I'll try to make this pretty quick. We did bring 5 bills that we're supporting, so I'll just very quickly explain why. First, Assembly Bill 323 from Assemblymember Fong. This is a bill that we sponsored alongside Los Angeles Community College District that would expand the uses of strong workforce funds to include paid internships. We have very few opportunities where we can do that right now, and we know it's one of the most effective ways to have a student complete a program and then go get living wage employment. And so it's a simple change, but it would be a very impactful one. Assembly Bill 335 from Assemblymember Gibson. Last year, a designation for the community colleges, and actually for all colleges and universities in California, called a Black Serving Institution was created. We're going through the initial process for colleges applying for that designation. This would bring $75 million in funding to provide grants to those BSI designated institutions. And so it would provide resources to continue to expand opportunities, access, persistence, and success for our Black students. Assembly Bill 648 from Assemblymember Zbur. I'm hopeful there will be another version of this one day that would directly benefit the Unified School District, but this starts by expanding community college districts to have the same authority that UCs and CSUs have on being exempt from local zoning regulations when it comes to constructing affordable housing. And so this would allow us to build affordable housing on any district property without having to be zoned for it by the city or the county or any other local jurisdiction. And like I said, I'm hopeful, having talked to the people working behind the scenes on this bill, that there will be a future version that would give you the exact same authority. Assembly Bill 766 from Dr. Sharp Collins does not directly affect us, but I think is a very important program for our state, given what's happened at the federal level. It would require all state agencies to conduct an equity action plan to assess, does the work they're doing, the services they're providing, the engagement they have, equitably benefit the communities they serve. And we know too often government services benefit those that have money, resources, education, and leave behind entire communities. And so this would shift the onus to the state agencies to be intentional about having equitable outcomes and not put the onus on residents to be able to navigate these bureaucracies that we create. Finally, Assembly Bill 1433, also Dr. Sharp Collins, would add a definition in education code for a non-credit college and a non-credit center. This is a very important step towards having our College of Continuing Education be recognized as a higher education institution on an equal playing field with our credit colleges. And equally important, it would immediately bring funding in key programs like our Disabled Student Services programs, our Veterans Resource Centers, our Pride Centers, to the College of Continuing Education. Right now, our district takes the funds we receive from our 3 credit colleges, distributes across 4, and so it would close an equity gap there. It would also encourage more colleges around our system to establish non-credit centers and colleges that increase career education opportunities. So those are the 5 bills that we brought forward. Appreciate your consideration and joining us in supporting those.
Thank you, Chancellor Smith. Now I'd like to ask Dr. Bagula to virtually present information on K through 12 sponsored legislation.
Thank you, Chancellor Smith, and thank you, President Pedersen, for introducing these important issues and for outlining SDCC's legislative priorities. Our shared commitment to students, supporting them from K-12 through their chosen college or career path, requires us to work together to remove barriers and secure critical investments that drive positive outcomes. I appreciate your leadership in sponsoring AB 323 and AB 1433, both of which will directly strengthen student pathways and resources. Thank you for bringing forward these 5 bills. We will review them carefully and look forward to continued collaboration in our joint advocacy efforts. In the same spirit, I'd like to present 3 bills that San Diego Unified is supporting and ask for your consideration as well. AB 629, our sponsored bill, a good governance measure that redirects funding from administrative tasks to directly support students. AB 438, a bill that removes barriers to college and career access pathways by aligning minimum school day requirements with other dual enrollment programs. And AB 1224, a bill that ensures instructional continuity by restoring a COVID-era policy allowing substitute teachers to serve up to 60 days in the same classroom when necessary. By supporting these efforts together, we can continue to break down barriers and create the best possible conditions for student success here in San Diego. Thank you for your partnership, and I look forward to our collective advocacy on behalf of the students we serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bagula. So there's some sense that we would have a joint motion of support for these bills. Is Sierra Cook on the call? We haven't yet received any. We haven't yet conferred with our legislative director. I don't know if she's on. I would probably want to get some input from her prior to entertaining a motion, or no?
So I can speak just briefly.
Yeah.
We did consult with Dr. Cook on all of the recommendations for the joint advocacy, so I know that we're presenting it here after having reviewed everything and are putting it forward for the joint board's consideration.
Excellent.
And on
Dr.
our
Cook?
side, we've reviewed the 3 bills, and I'm recommending to our board that we support them.
Great. That's what I like to hear. Do I have a motion?
Motion on the floor that the joint boards endorse.
Okay,
The full list of legislative
We have a motion from Vice President Milgram, and to support all 8 of the bills, and a second from Trustee Bazo from San Diego Unified. Should we vote separately on this thing as separate boards, or should we, do we have a recommendation? Go ahead.
So I know both San Diego College and San Diego schools had mentioned AB 323, and so I wasn't sure if that was the one. It sounded like the internship program, like a paid internship, if I'm
Correct.
remember. Yeah, and is that so? Is that for high school and college, or I just wasn't sure.
It's for any program that's funded with our Strong Workforce Program.
Okay.
And so, off the top of my head, I can't say with certainty if we have any high school students dual enrolled in a program that is Strong Workforce.
Okay.
But I don't think there would be any bar to that either. So something I need to go back and find out more.
Because that would be great. I know Assemblymember Ward had passed the bill to allow our student board members to be paid, so it'd be wonderful to also offer, internships at the high school level as well. I know different schools are doing that different ways, but having something where they could also actually get paid at the high school level, not only at the college level, would be wonderful, but I just wasn't sure what the wording was.
All right, it sounds like I've conferred with our staff. It sounds like we can, if we get a consensus vote on this, it will be binding for both boards. So that sounds good. So we have a motion from Vice President Milgram and a second from Trustee Bazo. I just got a text from Sierra Cook. She's on board. So with that, is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll move to a vote. We will allow our student trustees to raise their hands as a matter of concurring. Student trustees? All right, we have our student trustees voting unanimously. Remaining board members, please vote. Hands. I see unanimous hands. It looks like we've passed the motion with student trustees concurring. All right, you have your motion. Let's, wow, okay. This is kind of sad. We're like, yeah, we're killing this thing, man. All right. Well, seeing no further business, I am about to drop the gavel on this meeting. You have a line here? Oh, did I cut you? Oh, there it is in blue. Okay, there you go. I'll do, this meeting of the San Diego Unified District Board of Education is now adjourned, and I will pass this beautiful gavel to my colleague.
This meeting is now adjourned for the San Diego Community College District Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Thank you. That ended very quickly. It's abruptly. Yeah. Thank you to the audience. Thank you to everyone listening at home. Appreciate your attendance and participation.